The sun was setting over the bustling city streets when a black SUV pulled up outside the Rose Haven children's home. The children, pressed against the windows, couldn't believe their eyes as they watched the tall figure of Big Shaq step out, his signature gold chain catching the last rays of sunlight. But what happened next would change their lives forever. The story began 3 days earlier when Big Shaq was driving through the downtown area after finishing his sold-out concert. Through his tinted windows, he noticed a group of children huddled together outside a worn-down building, their small faces pressed against a chain-link fence as they watched other kids playing in a nearby park. His driver mentioned it was the Rose Haven Children's Home, struggling to stay open due to financial difficulties. That sight struck a chord deep within Big Shaq's heart. Growing up in a tough neighborhood himself, he knew what it felt like to watch others enjoy simple pleasures while standing on the outside. Without hesitation, he pulled out his phone and made a call to his manager. "Book the entire Golden Palace Hotel for next weekend," he said, his voice filled with determination. "And get me in touch with the Rose Haven administration." The staff at Rose Haven couldn't believe it when they received the call. At first, they thought it was a prank. Why would an international music star want to help their small orphanage? But as the details unfolded, reality began to sink in. Big Shaq wasn't just booking rooms, he was planning an entire weekend of experiences for these children who had never known such luxury. The news spread quickly through the orphanage. The children, aged between 6 and 16, could hardly contain their excitement. Many of them knew Big Shaq's music. They'd danced to it in their shared rooms, using hairbrushes as microphones. But none of them had ever imagined meeting him in person. Little did they know, Big Shaq was personally overseeing every detail. He remembered his own childhood dreams and wanted to make this experience unforgettable. He arranged for new clothes to be delivered to each child, complete with comfortable shoes and warm jackets. The hotel's finest suites were prepared, each room stocked with snacks and small gifts. The staff at Rose Haven watched in amazement as their children, who had faced so much hardship, began to pack their few belongings for this unexpected adventure. One of the caretakers, who had worked at the home for over 15 years, couldn't hold back her tears as she helped the younger ones fold their clothes. "In all my years here," she said, wiping her eyes, "I've never seen anything like this. These children, they've never had anyone do something so special for them." The day of the move finally arrived. As Big Shaq stepped out of his SUV, he wasn't wearing his usual stage outfit or flashy jewelry. Instead, he was dressed simply in jeans and a comfortable sweater. He wanted the children to see him not as a celebrity, but as someone who understood their struggles. The first child to approach him was a shy 7-year-old boy, clutching his worn teddy bear. Big Shaq knelt down to his level, his famous confident demeanor softening into a gentle smile. "Hey little man," he said warmly, "ready for an adventure?" The boy nodded, his eyes wide with wonder. Soon, other children gathered around, their initial nervousness melting away as Big Shaq shared jokes and high-fives. What touched everyone's heart was how naturally he interacted with them. There were no cameras, no publicity team, just genuine connections being formed. As the children boarded the luxury buses that would take them to the Golden Palace Hotel, Big Shaq noticed one teenage girl hanging back, her arms crossed and a skeptical look on her face. He recognized that look, the wall built up after too many disappointments. He approached her slowly, respecting her space. "I know what you're thinking," he said quietly, "that this is too good to be true. That people like me don't do things without wanting something in return." He paused, making sure she was listening. "But sometimes, life surprises us. Sometimes, good things happen simply because they should." His words seemed to reach her, and slowly, a small smile appeared on her face. As she boarded the bus, Big Shaq felt a familiar emotion well up inside him, the same feeling he had when he received his first break in the music industry. Sometimes, all it takes is one person believing in you to change everything. The convoy of buses pulled away from Rose Haven, carrying precious cargo of dreams and hope. Big Shaq watched them go, knowing that this was just the beginning of an unforgettable weekend. As the sun set completely, casting long shadows across the empty playground, he smiled to himself. Sometimes the biggest acts of kindness start with the smallest moments of recognition, seeing yourself in others and deciding to make a difference. The Golden Palace Hotel stood like a gleaming fortress against the evening sky, its grand entrance adorned with twinkling lights that reflected in the children's wide eyes. As the buses pulled up to the magnificent building, gasps of amazement filled the air. None of the Rose Haven children had ever seen anything so luxurious up close. The hotel staff lined up at the entrance, their warm smiles welcoming the excited group. The hotel manager, a kind-faced woman in her 50s, stepped forward with a genuine warmth that immediately put the nervous children at ease. Behind her, a team of staff members stood ready with welcome drinks and fresh-baked cookies on silver trays. "Welcome to your weekend home," Big Shaq announced, his voice carrying across the lobby. The marble floors gleamed beneath their feet, and crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. Some of the younger children couldn't help but twirl around, watching their reflections in the polished surfaces. The check-in process had been carefully planned to avoid overwhelming the children. Each child received a special room key card with their name printed on it, making them feel important and respected. The teenage girl who had been skeptical earlier couldn't hide her smile when she received hers, running her fingers over the golden letters of her name. Big Shaq had arranged for the children to be paired in rooms according to their age groups, with their regular caretakers staying in connecting rooms to provide comfort and security. As they were led to their floors, the children's excitement grew with each step. The elevators themselves were an adventure, with glass walls offering panoramic views of the city lights below. One small boy, no more than 8 years old, pressed his nose against the elevator glass. "Look," he exclaimed, pointing at the tiny cars below. "They look like my toy cars." His enthusiasm was contagious, and soon all the children were sharing their observations, their voices filling the space with joy. The suites themselves exceeded everyone's expectations. Plush beds with cloud-soft pillows awaited them, along with personalized welcome baskets filled with age-appropriate treats and necessities. In each room, fresh clothes in the correct sizes were laid out on the beds, including comfortable pajamas and slippers. The bathrooms were another source of wonder. Many of the children had never seen such luxury: marble countertops, fluffy towels, and an array of toiletries that seemed magical to their young eyes. One little girl couldn't contain her excitement when she discovered the bubble bath supplies, immediately asking her caretaker if she could take a bath like a princess. But the real surprise came when they discovered the entertainment systems in each room. Flat-screen TVs, gaming consoles, and a selection of movies were available to them. Big Shaq had remembered to include educational content alongside fun options, showing his thoughtfulness in every detail. The hotel's kitchen had prepared a special welcome dinner in the grand ballroom. The children's eyes grew wide as they entered the space, transformed into a magical dining experience. Tables were set with proper place settings, but the atmosphere was kept casual and child-friendly. The chef had created a menu that balanced familiar comfort foods with opportunities to try new things. During dinner, Big Shaq moved from table to table, sitting down and chatting with different groups. He shared stories from his own childhood, listening intently as the children opened up about their own experiences. There was no trace of celebrity pretense in his manner, just genuine interest and care. One of the older boys, usually quiet and reserved, found the courage to ask Big Shaq about his music. Instead of just answering, Big Shaq pulled out his phone and showed the boy some behind-the-scenes videos from his recording studio. Soon, a small crowd gathered around, all eager to learn about the music-making process. As the evening progressed, the initial excitement began to blend with comfortable familiarity. The children started to realize that this wasn't just a one-time special treat, they had an entire weekend ahead of them. The knowledge that they didn't have to rush or worry about the experience ending too soon allowed them to truly relax and enjoy themselves. The younger children began to show signs of tiredness after dinner, their eyes drooping despite their best efforts to stay awake. The caretakers, working with the hotel staff, began the process of getting everyone ready for bed. Big Shaq had arranged for new toothbrushes, colorful pajamas, and even stuffed animals for those who wanted them. In one touching moment, a small girl tugged on Big Shaq's sleeve just before heading to her room. "Is this real?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Will we still be here tomorrow?" The star knelt down to her level, his eyes sincere. "This is very real, little one. And tomorrow is going to be even more special." As the children settled into their luxurious beds, many for the first time experiencing the comfort of high-quality mattresses and blankets, there was a sense of peace that settled over the hotel. The caretakers reported that even the usually restless children fell asleep quickly, wrapped in the security and comfort of their new surroundings. Big Shaq remained in the hotel, choosing to stay close by in case any issues arose. From his suite, he could hear the occasional giggle or excited whisper from the children's rooms, and each sound brought a smile to his face. He spent the late hours of the evening reviewing the plans for the next day, ensuring every detail was perfect. The first day had been more successful than anyone could have imagined. The children's joy was genuine, their excitement pure, and their gratitude touching. But this was just the beginning. The weekend held more surprises, more moments of joy, and more opportunities for these children to experience the kind of care and attention they deserved. As the city lights twinkled outside the hotel windows, 45 children drifted off to sleep in the comfort of the Golden Palace Hotel, their dreams finally as bright as the stars above. For the first time in a long while, they felt truly special, truly cared for, and truly hopeful about what tomorrow might bring. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the hotel's grand windows, gently waking the children to their first full day of adventure. The excitement from the previous night hadn't diminished. If anything, it had grown stronger with the realization that yesterday hadn't been a dream. Breakfast was served in the hotel's sun-filled conservatory, transformed into a magical morning space. The room buzzed with childish chatter as they discovered the breakfast buffet, complete with everything from fresh fruits and cereals to made-to-order pancakes with fun toppings. The hotel's chefs had outdone themselves, creating pancakes in the shapes of animals and stars, bringing delighted squeals from the younger children. Big Shaq made his entrance during breakfast, dressed casually and wearing a warm smile. He had a surprise announcement that made the children pause mid-bite. The hotel's grand ballroom had been transformed overnight into an indoor carnival, complete with safe, child-friendly activities and games. When the doors to the ballroom opened, the children's jaws dropped. The space had been divided into different zones, each offering unique experiences. A mini basketball court occupied one corner, while another area featured art stations with easels, paints, and crafting materials. There was even a small stage with instruments where the children could try their hand at making music. The most touching moment came when Big Shaq revealed the Dream Wall, a massive blank canvas where each child could paint or write their biggest dream. One young boy, usually too shy to speak up, carefully wrote, to become a doctor and help others. Big Shaq spent extra time with him, sharing how he had pursued his own dreams despite the odds. Throughout the morning, professional instructors rotated through the stations, teaching mini-workshops in dance, art, and music. The children discovered talents they never knew they had. A quiet girl revealed a natural talent for rhythm when given access to a drum set. Two brothers showed remarkable teamwork, creating a colorful mural together. But it wasn't just about fun and games. Big Shaq had carefully integrated learning experiences into the activities. At the science station, children conducted safe, entertaining experiments that made their eyes light up with wonder. The cooking station taught them basic culinary skills as they decorated cookies and made simple, healthy snacks. During lunch, served picnic style in a section of the ballroom transformed into an indoor garden, Big Shaq shared stories about his own childhood struggles and how education had been his pathway to success. The children listened intently, many of them seeing their own challenges reflected in his words. The afternoon brought a special surprise, a mini talent show where the children could showcase what they'd learned during the morning workshops. The hotel staff and caretakers formed an enthusiastic audience, cheering for each performance. Big Shaq sat in the front row, giving standing ovations that made each child feel like a star. One particularly moving moment came when a 12-year-old girl, who had barely spoken since arriving at Rose Haven 3 months ago, stepped onto the stage. She had spent the morning at the music station, learning a simple melody on the keyboard. Though her performance was basic, the courage it took to perform brought tears to her caretaker's eyes. As the day progressed, professional photographers captured candid moments of joy and discovery. Big Shaq had arranged for each child to receive a personal photo album of their weekend, ensuring these precious memories would be preserved. The photographers worked discreetly, catching natural smiles and genuine interactions rather than posed shots. The afternoon activities included a special, Future Leaders session where older children could ask questions about different careers. Big Shaq had invited several successful professionals, including a teacher, a nurse, and a computer programmer, to share their journeys. The teenagers especially appreciated this opportunity, many of them taking notes and asking thoughtful questions. One 13-year-old boy, passionate about technology, couldn't contain his excitement when learning about coding. The programmer spent extra time showing him basic programming concepts on a laptop, and Big Shaq quietly arranged for the boy to receive coding lessons after the weekend was over. As evening approached, the children were treated to a movie screening in the hotel's private cinema room. The film, carefully chosen to be both entertaining and inspiring, was accompanied by comfortable bean bags, warm blankets, and endless bowls of popcorn. Some of the younger ones curled up next to their caretakers, tired but happy after their eventful day. During the movie, Big Shaq took a moment to stand at the back of the room, watching the scene before him. The children's faces, illuminated by the screen's soft glow, showed contentment that went beyond mere entertainment. They had spent a day being treated not as orphans or victims of circumstance, but as valuable, capable young people with bright futures ahead. The day concluded with a special dinner themed around dreams come true. The hotel's dining room had been decorated with twinkling lights and inspirational quotes. Each table featured centerpieces made from the children's artwork created during the day, giving them a sense of pride and ownership in the space. As the children headed to their rooms that night, each one carried not just the physical souvenirs of their activities, but also new confidence and aspirations. The caretakers reported seeing positive changes already. Children who usually struggled to interact were opening up, those who rarely smiled were laughing, and even the most reserved ones were participating in activities. Big Shaq remained behind in the dining room, reviewing plans for the next day with his team. The success of today had exceeded expectations, but tomorrow would bring even more surprises. As he looked through the photos from the day, one particular image caught his eye, a group shot of all the children, their faces radiant with joy, hope, and possibility. This wasn't just about providing a luxury weekend anymore. It was about showing these children that they mattered, that their dreams were valid, and that their futures could be as bright as they dared to imagine. As the hotel settled into nighttime quiet, the impact of the day's events continued to resonate through the building, setting the stage for even more memorable experiences to come. The second morning at the Golden Palace Hotel began with a special surprise. As the children made their way to breakfast, they found their tables decorated with personalized letters. Big Shaq had spent part of his night writing individual notes to each child, highlighting specific moments he'd observed and the unique qualities he saw in them. A young girl clutched her letter close to her chest, her eyes shining as she read about how her kindness toward the younger children hadn't gone unnoticed. Another child, known for his quick wit, beamed as he read Big Shaq's words about his natural leadership abilities. These weren't generic messages, each letter spoke to the heart of who these children were. The morning's activities began with something unexpected, a community service project. Big Shaq believed in teaching the children that regardless of their circumstances, they too had the power to help others. The hotel's conference room had been set up with stations where the children could help pack care packages for other children in need. Working together, they filled colorful backpacks with school supplies, hygiene items, and small toys. The older children helped the younger ones write encouraging notes to include in each package. One small boy, who had arrived at Rose Haven just 2 weeks ago, wrote with determination, "You are not alone. There are people who care about you." As they worked, Big Shaq shared stories about his own charitable work, explaining how success meant nothing if it wasn't used to lift others up. The children listened intently, many of them seeing themselves differently for the first time, not just as recipients of kindness, but as givers too. The afternoon brought another surprise. The hotel's pool area had been transformed into a tropical paradise. Professional swimming instructors were on hand to teach basic water safety and swimming techniques to those who needed it. For many of the children, it was their first time in a proper swimming pool. One particularly touching moment occurred when a terrified 10-year-old boy stood at the pool's edge, too scared to enter the water. Big Shaq, who had changed into swim shorts, got into the shallow end and spoke softly to him about facing fears. Step by step, holding Big Shaq's hand, the boy gradually entered the water. By the end of the session, he was doggy paddling with a huge smile on his face. The pool activities were followed by a special dream-building workshop. Professional career counselors worked with the older children, helping them create vision boards and practical plans for their futures. The younger ones participated in age-appropriate activities focused on identifying their interests and talents. During this time, Big Shaq pulled aside the teenage girl who had been skeptical on the first day. She had shown a remarkable talent for organization during the morning's community service project. He introduced her to his event manager, who spoke with her about internship possibilities and future career opportunities in event planning. The afternoon transformed into an impromptu talent showcase. Some children performed songs they had learned, while others displayed artwork they had created. Big Shaq joined in, performing an acoustic version of one of his hits, making the children laugh by purposely missing notes and encouraging them to help him sing. A quiet boy who had spent most of his time at the art station revealed a stunning portrait he had drawn of Big Shaq. The star was so moved by the gesture that he asked if he could keep it, promising to frame it in his studio. The boy's proud smile lit up the entire room. As evening approached, the hotel staff prepared for a special dinner party. The theme was Future Stars, and each child was encouraged to dress up in outfits representing their dream careers. The hotel had provided appropriate costumes and accessories, doctor's coats, chef's hats, artist berets, and business suits sized for little shoulders carrying big dreams. The dining room had been transformed once again, this time with a red carpet leading to the entrance. As each child arrived, they were announced by their name and future profession. Introducing our future pediatrician. Welcome, our future architect. The children walked the carpet with growing confidence, their caretakers and hotel staff cheering them on. During dinner, Big Shaq made an announcement that brought tears to many eyes. He had established an education fund for each child at Rose Haven. The fund would cover not just college expenses, but also vocational training, apprenticeships, or whatever educational path they chose to pursue. The room erupted in cheers and emotional hugs. One of the caretakers, who had worked at Rose Haven for over a decade, pulled Big Shaq aside. With tears in her eyes, she explained how this weekend had already changed the children. They were talking about their futures with hope instead of resignation. They were seeing possibilities where before they had only seen obstacles. The evening concluded with a stargazing session on the hotel's rooftop garden. Professional astronomers had set up telescopes, teaching the children about constellations and the vastness of the universe. As they looked up at the stars, Big Shaq shared his philosophy about dreams. the stars might seem far away, but they're always there, just like your potential. You just need to keep looking up. A young girl, peering through a telescope, whispered, "I want to be an astronomer." Big Shaq overheard and smiled, knowing that the education fund would make that dream possible. He made a mental note to connect her with one of his contacts at the city's planetarium. As the children headed to bed that night, their minds were full of possibilities and their hearts were full of hope. The caretakers reported that instead of their usual bedtime struggles, the children were eagerly discussing their future plans and the things they had learned. Big Shaq sat in his suite later that night, reading through some of the thank you notes the children had spontaneously written. One message particularly touched him: "Thank you for showing us that we're not just orphans. We're future doctors, teachers, artists, and maybe even stars like you." The weekend was more than halfway over, but its impact was clearly going to last far beyond these few days. As the hotel settled into quiet, the dream sparked during the day continued to glow like the stars above, promising a brighter future for each child who had been touched by this extraordinary act of kindness. The third morning brought a different kind of energy to the Golden Palace Hotel. The children were no longer wide-eyed with disbelief at their surroundings. Instead, they moved through the space with a quiet confidence that comes from feeling truly at home. The luxury had become secondary to the sense of belonging they developed over the past 2 days. Breakfast that morning was special. Big Shaq had arranged for a "Breakfast of Champions" theme. The dining room was decorated with inspirational quotes from famous figures who had overcome adversity to achieve their dreams. The children found small medals at their places, each inscribed with a unique quality the staff had observed in them: outstanding creativity, remarkable kindness, natural leader. A young boy who rarely spoke above a whisper stood up during breakfast and asked if he could say something. The room fell quiet as he gathered his courage. "Before coming here," he said, his voice growing stronger with each word, "I used to think being from Rose Haven was something to be ashamed of. But now I know it just means we're fighters. We're special." His words touched everyone deeply, and Big Shaq had to take a moment to compose himself before standing to applaud. Soon, the whole room was filled with applause, not just for the boy's bravery in speaking, but for the truth he had expressed. The caretakers exchanged knowing looks. This was the kind of transformation they had hoped for but hadn't dared to expect. The morning's activities began with something unexpected: a series of workshops led by successful people who had grown up in circumstances similar to the Rose Haven children. Big Shaq had spent weeks finding these individuals, each with their own story of triumph over adversity. There was a renowned chef who had grown up in foster care, a business owner who had lived in children's homes, and an award-winning teacher who had been adopted at age 12. These speakers didn't just share their success stories, they engaged the children in hands-on activities. The chef taught them to make simple but impressive dishes. The business owner helped them create mini-business plans for their dream ventures. The teacher led them in confidence-building exercises that had them all laughing and supporting each other. One particularly moving moment came when a usually reserved teenage girl approached the business owner during a break. "Did you really feel like we do?" she asked quietly. "Like you were different from everyone else?" The conversation that followed was private, but the tears and hugs shared between them spoke volumes about its impact. The afternoon brought a surprise that had been kept under wraps until now. The hotel's gardens had been transformed into a carnival-style festival. But this wasn't just any carnival. Each activity was designed to teach life skills while being incredibly fun. The ring toss game taught physics principles, the face painting station included lessons about different cultures' traditional designs, and the balloon artist taught basic geometry through his creations. Big Shaq had also arranged for a professional photographer to set up a portrait studio. Each child got to have individual and group photos taken, complete with props and backdrops of their choosing. These weren't just casual snapshots, they were professional portraits that showed each child at their best, radiating confidence and joy. One small girl, who always tried to hide from cameras, discovered she loved being photographed, and the photographer showed her how to pose confidently. "You're a natural," he told her, showing her the stunning images on his camera screen. Her caretaker later shared that it was the first time she'd seen the girl truly believe in her own beauty. The day's activities included a special time capsule project. Each child contributed something to a group time capsule: artwork, letters to their future selves, photos, and small mementos from the weekend. Big Shaq promised that in 5 years, he would personally return to Rose Haven to open it with them, turning a weekend of memories into a bridge to their future. During the late afternoon, the hotel's ballroom hosted a dream conference, where the children presented their future plans to an audience of their peers, caretakers, and special guests. The presentations ranged from elaborate visual aids created by the older children to endearingly simple drawings by the youngest ones, but each was met with genuine interest and encouragement. A 10-year-old boy's presentation particularly stood out. He spoke about wanting to become a social worker to help kids like us. His words were simple but powerful, and they sparked a chain reaction of similar sentiments from other children. Many began to express how they too wanted to give back when they grew up, inspired by the kindness they had experienced. The evening brought another surprise: a mini-documentary screening. Throughout the weekend, a small film crew had been discreetly capturing moments of joy, triumph, and transformation. The resulting short film showed the children as they truly were: resilient, capable, and full of potential. Watching themselves on screen, many of the children sat straighter, finally seeing themselves through others' eyes. Dinner that evening was themed "Around the World," with dishes from different cultures and stories about how food brings people together. The children learned about table manners from different cultures, tried new flavors, and shared stories about their own favorite foods. Big Shaq joined in, telling funny stories about exotic foods he'd tried during his world tours. As the evening wound down, a spontaneous talent show broke out. Unlike the organized performances of previous days, this one was completely impromptu. Children who had been too shy to perform earlier now volunteered, encouraged by the safe space that had been created over the weekend. The most touching performance came from a group of 6 children who had worked secretly with one of the hotel's staff members to learn a thank you song for Big Shaq. Their voices, though not perfect, carried the pure gratitude and joy that defined the entire weekend. There wasn't a dry eye in the room as they finished. Later that night, as the children prepared for bed, many of them lingered in the hallways, reluctant to let the day end. The caretakers noticed a difference in their interactions. The older children were naturally looking out for the younger ones, and previously existing cliques had dissolved into a more inclusive community. Big Shaq spent some time walking through the hotel, taking in the evidence of the day's activities: artwork displayed on walls, thank you notes scattered on tables, and the sound of happy chatter coming from the children's rooms. He paused by one room where he could hear a young voice saying, "When I grow up, I want to help people like Big Shaq does." As the hotel settled into night, the impact of the day's events continued to resonate. The children went to sleep not just with full bellies and happy hearts, but with something even more precious: a new sense of possibility about their future and their place in the world. The weekend was nearing its end, but its effects were clearly just beginning. The 4th day dawned with a bittersweet feeling in the air. Though there was still one more full day of activities ahead, everyone felt the gentle reminder that this magical weekend wouldn't last forever. Yet rather than dampening spirits, this realization seemed to make everyone more determined to make every moment count. The morning began with a surprise announcement over breakfast. Big Shaq had arranged for a special guest, a renowned child psychologist who specialized in helping young people build resilience and self-worth. But rather than giving a formal presentation, she joined the children for breakfast, moving from table to table and engaging them in natural conversation. The children opened up to her easily, sharing their dreams and fears without hesitation. The safe space created over the past few days had made it easier for them to express themselves. One particularly moving moment came when a young boy spoke about his fear of being forgotten. The psychologist helped him understand that the memories and skills he was building would always be part of who he was. After breakfast, the day's main activity was revealed: Legacy Day. The entire hotel lobby had been transformed into an interactive space where each child could explore how they wanted to make their mark on the world. Different stations were set up, each focused on a different way of contributing to society. At the Community Heroes station, local firefighters, nurses, and teachers shared stories about their work. The children got to try on real firefighter gear, learn basic first aid, and experience what it's like to teach a lesson. One young girl, after practicing bandaging at the nursing station, declared with certainty that she had found her calling. The Creative Impact area allowed children to explore how art, music, and writing could change lives. Professional artists helped them create murals with positive messages that would later be installed at Rose Haven. Musicians taught them how songs could tell important stories, and writers helped them craft powerful personal narratives. Big Shaq had arranged for a Technology for Good section, where experts showed how technology could be used to solve community problems. The children learned basic coding through fun games and saw demonstrations of apps that helped people in need. A group of teenagers was particularly inspired by an app that helped connect food donors with homeless shelters. During lunch, which was served picnic-style in the hotel's garden, Big Shaq shared something personal with the group. He spoke about his own struggles with self-doubt early in his career and how he'd learned that success wasn't just about personal achievement, it was about lifting others up along the way. His words resonated deeply with the children, who were beginning to see how they too could make a difference. The afternoon brought a special Future Leaders workshop, where the children worked in groups to develop community service projects. The ideas they came up with were impressive, from a buddy system for new children arriving at Rose Haven to a recycling program that could raise funds for the home. Big Shaq promised to provide seed funding for each project, ensuring their ideas could become reality. One of the most touching moments came when a quiet 12-year-old girl presented her group's idea. They wanted to start a mentoring program where older children at Rose Haven would help younger ones with homework and emotional support. Because, she explained, her voice growing stronger, we understand each other in a way nobody else can. As the day progressed, the hotel staff noticed something remarkable. The children were no longer looking to adults for constant guidance. They were taking initiative, helping each other, and showing leadership in small but significant ways. The transformation from the uncertain group that had arrived 4 days ago was stunning. The evening's activities included a special ceremony called Passing the Light. Each child received a small, battery-operated lantern. They sat in a circle, and one by one, they stood to share something they had learned during the weekend and something they wanted to give back to others. As each child spoke, they turned on their lantern, gradually filling the room with warm light. A young boy's words particularly touched everyone's hearts. I learned that being from Rose Haven doesn't make us less, he said, his voice clear and strong. It makes us stronger because we know how to appreciate kindness and how to share it. The room burst into applause, and several caretakers wiped away tears. Dinner that evening was themed, Heroes Among Us. The tables were decorated with mirrors, and above each one hung a sign reading, "Look here to see a hero." It was a powerful message about recognizing the strength within themselves. The children were served their favorite meals, which they had requested earlier in the week, making the evening feel personal and special. During dinner, Big Shaq introduced another surprise. He had arranged for each child to be paired with a mentor in their field of interest, professionals who had committed to providing guidance and support long after the weekend was over. The mentors would work with Rose Haven staff to maintain appropriate boundaries while offering valuable guidance and encouragement. The evening concluded with a special storytelling session where the children shared their favorite moments from the weekend. Their stories revealed how deeply the experience had affected them. They spoke not just about the luxuries and activities, but about the moments of connection, the newfound confidence, and the sense of possibility they had discovered. As bedtime approached, the caretakers noticed something different in the children's behavior. Instead of the usual resistance to bedtime, they were helping each other prepare for sleep, sharing their excitement about the next day while also showing responsibility. It was as if they had internalized the lesson that taking care of themselves and each other was part of being a leader. Big Shaq spent the late evening meeting with his team and the Rose Haven staff, finalizing plans for the weekend's conclusion and, more importantly, discussing the long-term support systems that would be put in place. The education fund, mentorship program, and project funding were just the beginning. He was committed to ensuring that the transformation he had witnessed wouldn't fade away when the weekend ended. As the hotel settled into silence, the glow of the children's lanterns could still be seen through some of the room windows. These lights seemed to symbolize the hope and potential that had been awakened over the past few days. Tomorrow would bring the weekend's final full day, but it was clear that what had been started here would continue to shine long after the children returned to Rose Haven. The final full day at the Golden Palace Hotel began with a sunrise gathering on the rooftop garden. Big Shaq had arranged for yoga instructors to lead a gentle morning session, teaching the children about mindfulness and the importance of starting each day with intention. The sight of 45 children in child-sized yoga mats, stretching toward the rising sun, was both heartwarming and symbolic of their growth over the weekend. During breakfast, there was a noticeable difference in the atmosphere. The children carried themselves with quiet confidence, and their interactions showed a depth of caring that hadn't been there before. The hotel staff, who had watched this transformation over the days, found themselves getting emotional as they served what would be one of their last meals with the group. The morning's main event was called Dreams in Action. The hotel's conference center had been divided into different zones, each representing a potential future career path. But unlike career fairs, these were interactive experiences where the children could actually practice different professions. In the medical zone, real doctors taught basic first aid and let children use stethoscopes and other safe medical equipment. The engineering station had building blocks and simple robotics kits. The culinary section featured child-safe cooking equipment where they could create simple dishes. Every station was designed to give them hands-on experience in potential future careers. One particularly touching moment occurred at the teaching station. A young girl who had been struggling with confidence all weekend found herself naturally helping younger children learn simple math concepts. The joy on her face when she realized she had a talent for teaching was unforgettable. Big Shaq quietly arranged for her to receive tutoring training, knowing she could use this skill back at Rose Haven. The afternoon brought a special surprise, the Rose Haven Heroes ceremony. The hotel's grand ballroom had been transformed into an awards venue, complete with a red carpet and stage. Every child would receive recognition for their unique contributions and growth during the weekend. The awards weren't generic participation trophies. Each one had been carefully personalized based on observations from the staff, caretakers, and Big Shaq himself. Most improved confidence, outstanding helper, creative spirit, every award celebrated real achievements and genuine growth. One of the most emotional moments came when they honored a 10-year-old boy who had been at Rose Haven for just 2 months. His award was for extraordinary courage, recognizing how he had gradually opened up over the weekend, making friends and sharing his story. When he received his award, his hands trembling slightly, he spoke into the microphone, "Thank you for showing me that my past doesn't decide my future." The afternoon activities included a special art project called Messages of Hope. The children created 2 pieces of artwork, one to take back to Rose Haven and one that would be displayed in the hotel's lobby permanently. The hotel management had committed to maintaining this display, ensuring that future guests would learn about these remarkable children and their stories. As the day progressed, Big Shaq arranged for a series of life skills workshops. These weren't typical lessons, they were engaging sessions that taught important skills through fun activities. Financial literacy was taught through a mock shopping game, communication skills through improvisation exercises, and problem-solving through escape room-style challenges. The children were especially excited about the Future Leaders session, where they learned public speaking and presentation skills. Each child got to practice speaking about their dreams and goals, receiving supportive feedback and encouragement. The transformation in their confidence levels from the first day was remarkable. During the late afternoon, a special surprise arrived. A professional video team had compiled footage from the entire weekend into a documentary. As the children watched themselves on screen, they saw not just the fun moments, but the meaningful changes in their behavior and confidence. Many of them were moved to tears seeing their own transformation documented so beautifully. The evening brought what Big Shaq called the legacy dinner. The hotel's finest dining room had been decorated with photos from the weekend, and each table featured a centerpiece made from the children's artwork. The menu included dishes that the children had helped prepare during their culinary workshops, making them feel proud and accomplished. During dinner, Big Shaq made several announcements that brought tears to everyone's eyes. He revealed that the education fund he had established would not only cover college expenses but would also provide for enrichment activities, summer camps, and specialized training programs. Additionally, he had arranged for regular mentoring sessions and skill-building workshops to continue at Rose Haven. But the biggest surprise came when he announced that this weekend wasn't a one-time event. He had established a foundation that would organize similar experiences for other children's homes, with the Rose Haven children serving as junior mentors. This way, they could experience the joy of giving back and helping others who were in situations similar to their own. One of the older girls stood up spontaneously and asked to speak. Her words captured the spirit of the entire weekend. "When we came here, we thought we were just getting a fancy holiday. But what we really got was a family, not just with each other, but with everyone who showed us we matter. And now we get to be that for other kids too." The evening concluded with a starlight ceremony in the hotel's garden. Each child released a biodegradable paper lantern into the night sky, each one carrying their written hopes and dreams for the future. As the lanterns floated upward, Big Shaq reminded them that like these lights, their potential was limitless. As the children prepared for their final night at the hotel, there was a sense of completion rather than ending. The caretakers reported that instead of the sadness they had expected, the children were excitedly discussing their plans for using what they had learned to make Rose Haven an even better place. Big Shaq spent the late hours meeting with his team, finalizing the details of the ongoing support programs that would continue long after the weekend ended. He knew that the true measure of this weekend's success would be its lasting impact on these children's lives. As the hotel settled into its final night with these special guests, the transformation was complete. These weren't the same uncertain children who had arrived 5 days ago. They were emerging leaders, dreamers, and most importantly, children who finally understood their own worth and potential. The final morning at the Golden Palace Hotel dawned with a mix of sunshine and gentle clouds, as if nature itself was reflecting the bittersweet mood of departure day. The children woke early, many of them taking time to sit by their windows, taking mental pictures of the view they'd come to love over the past 5 days. Breakfast was a special affair. The chef had prepared each child's favorite dish from the weekend, remembered from their conversations and requests. The dining room buzzed with excited chatter as children recalled their favorite moments and shared their plans for the future. The hotel staff, who had grown attached to their young guests, moved between tables with misty eyes, sharing hugs and words of encouragement. Big Shaq had one final surprise planned. As the children finished their breakfast, he announced that each of them would find a special package in their rooms. Inside each package was a photo album filled with pictures from the weekend, a personal letter from Big Shaq, and a small tablet computer loaded with educational software and direct connections to their assigned mentors. But there was something else in each package, a custom-made journal with their name embossed on the cover. The first page contained a quote chosen specifically for each child, reflecting their unique strengths and dreams. The remaining pages were blank, waiting to be filled with their future achievements and aspirations. A young boy, clutching his journal, approached Big Shaq with tears in his eyes. "I never had anything with my name on it before," he whispered. These simple words captured the profound impact of feeling seen and valued, perhaps for the first time in his life. Big Shaq knelt down to his level, giving him a gentle hug, understanding that sometimes the smallest gestures carry the biggest meaning. The morning was dedicated to what Big Shaq called the Bridge to Tomorrow session. The children gathered in the ballroom one last time, where they worked together to create a massive mural depicting their dreams for Rosehaven's future. Their ideas were impressive: a new library corner, a mentoring program for new arrivals, weekly talent shows, and study groups led by older children. Each child also wrote a letter to their future self, which would be kept at Rosehaven and opened on their 18th birthday. The letters contained their hopes, dreams, and promises to themselves. Big Shaq shared that he too had written a letter, promising to remain a constant presence in their lives and to ensure that the opportunities discussed during the weekend would become reality. As the time for departure drew near, the hotel staff had arranged a surprise of their own. They performed a flash mob dance in the lobby, inviting the children to join in. The spontaneous dance party that followed was filled with laughter and joy, proving that even goodbye moments could be celebrations. The packing process was different from typical hotel departures. Along with their new clothes, tablets, and personal items, each child was bringing back something far more valuable: a new sense of self-worth and possibility. The caretakers noticed how carefully the children packed their awards and journals, treating them like precious treasures. Before boarding the buses, Big Shaq gathered everyone in the hotel's garden for a final ceremony. Each child received a small golden key on a chain, not just as a memento, but as a symbol. "This key," Big Shaq explained, his voice thick with emotion, "represents your power to unlock your own potential. You are the key to your future." The hotel manager stepped forward then, making an announcement that brought fresh tears to many eyes. The hotel would establish a permanent internship program for Rosehaven teenagers, providing them with professional experience in hospitality management. Additionally, the hotel's training kitchen would offer weekly cooking classes for the children who had shown interest in culinary arts. As the buses were being loaded, something remarkable happened. The children naturally organized themselves to help with the luggage, looking out for the younger ones, and making sure no one felt sad or left out. They had truly become a family, looking out for each other in ways that went beyond their time at the hotel. The farewell was emotional but not sad. Each child got a personal goodbye from Big Shaq, who had a specific memory or moment to share with each one. The hotel staff lined up to wave goodbye, many holding signs they had made: "You are our heroes. Come back soon. We believe in you." As the buses pulled away from the Golden Palace Hotel, Big Shaq stood watching until they were out of sight. His manager approached with tears in his eyes. "Do you know what you've really done here?" he asked. Big Shaq nodded, understanding that this weekend had been about much more than luxury and entertainment. It had been about showing these children their own worth and potential. The impact of the weekend became evident immediately upon return to Rosehaven. The children eagerly shared their experiences with those who had stayed behind, but more importantly, they began implementing changes right away. The older children started organizing study groups, while others began planning how to make Rosehaven more welcoming for newcomers. 1 month after the weekend, Big Shaq received a package from Rosehaven. Inside was a handmade book containing letters from each child, describing how they were using what they had learned. One letter particularly stood out: "Before that weekend, I thought dreams were just for other people. Now I know they're for me too, and I'm working hard to make them come true." The transformation continued to ripple outward. Other celebrities and business leaders, inspired by Big Shaq's initiative, began reaching out to children's homes in their own communities. The Golden Palace Weekend became a model for similar programs across the country, with Big Shaq's foundation providing guidance and support. 6 months later, Rose Haven had been transformed. The education fund was helping children excel in school, the mentorship programs were flourishing, and the children's confidence and academic performance had improved dramatically. The hotel's internship program had already welcomed its first 2 participants, with more eager to follow. But perhaps the most significant change was in how the children saw themselves. They no longer identified as orphans or foster kids, they were students, artists, future professionals, and most importantly, individuals with unlimited potential. The weekend had shown them that their circumstances didn't define them, their dreams and determination did. 1 year after the weekend, Big Shaq arranged a reunion at Rose Haven. The changes were remarkable. The once shy children were now confident leaders in their school communities. The boy who had been afraid of the pool was taking swimming lessons and talking about becoming a lifeguard. The girl who discovered her teaching abilities was running a successful peer tutoring program. The story of Big Shaq's act of kindness continued to inspire others, proving that sometimes the biggest changes start with simply showing someone they matter. The Golden Palace Hotel maintained its commitment to the children, becoming a symbol of hope and possibility in the community. As Big Shaq often said and asked about that transformative weekend, "I thought I was giving these kids a luxury experience, but they gave me something far more valuable. They showed me that when you believe in someone's potential, there's no limit to what they can achieve."